All right, hi, welcome to the 25th anniversary of the HP Lovecraft Film Festival. And if you're joining us, hopefully you've already watched the Shorts Block 2. We are here with the filmmakers, some of the filmmakers from Shorts Block 2. We've got Spencer Holden for It Can Walk, Jason Ewert from Back 40.
Hello.
Mike and Sean Hennessy from The Galls.
Hi, how you doing?
Eric Bodge from Herman.
Hello. How's it going?
Verti Luostarinen.
Yeah,
hopefully,
hello.
Hopefully I didn't butcher that. From Sahalax
It's okay.
66. And Gav Chucky Steele from Beyond. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Pretty good.
So I feel like three of you are not in the United States. Mike and Sean, are you in the US?
We're in Phoenix,
You're in Phoenix.
Arizona. Yeah.
But Gav, you are in England?
Yeah,
Gav?
I'm in England in the pouring rain at the moment, actually. Yeah.
And Verti, you're in Finland?
Yep. It has a good.
Well,
Yep.
thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying up and joining us. So you guys, we really loved your films, obviously, because we're playing them in the festival, and people will have a chance to continue to watch them throughout the weekend. So that's exciting. Thank you for joining us on our, first all streaming cosmic horror film festival.
Yeah.
We did this back in June for Portland Horror, but it was a little bit of a different setup. And so we appreciate everyone coming along on this second expanded journey into the virtual world. So with each of your films, I'm just going to launch in. Each of your films have a thread of cosmic horror that runs through them, and sometimes for viewers, it's not always quite as obvious as something that name drops Miskatonic or Arkham or Herbert West or Elder Things or Cthulhu. I'd like to go around with each of you and just kind of talk a little bit about what the inspiration was for your story and how much cosmic horror and Lovecraft has influenced your work. I'm going to start with Spencer.
Hi. I would say the initial start of the idea was last February. It was a winter night out in New York, and the actors Sam and I were having a late drink at the American Hotel, and we really just wanted to make a fun nautical horror monster movie. And of course, Melville is a big influence, and Lovecraft. And I kind of just wanted to have fun with it.
And you're a little bit of trivia is who made the props for your movie?
The props were from a great prop master up in Rhode Island called Big Nazo. And he has so many wonderful, he has a huge warehouse of all these creatures they make and build. And there's plenty more that if we make more films and more of a series, we can feature more of the monsters. But yeah, Big Nazo, he makes them. They're beautiful.
Nice. So for anyone who's watching, who's been to Necronomicon Providence in Providence, Rhode Island, is probably familiar with Big Nazo Studios because they do a lot of stuff together. But having had the privilege of seeing some of that stuff in person, they're just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Jason?
My biggest influence was probably dreams in general, my own dreams. Mine was only like 2 minutes long. And so it was a kind of a hodgepodge of my own dreams and also some tales we kind of tell each other to scare each other. Me and buddies at work, working on the grill in the back of a greasy spoon, and we trying to pass the time with scary stories, true scary stories of, and this one was pulled directly from one that a buddy had told me about when they went camping. Him and his family had found this kind of a hole out in the woods. So I kind of combined that with my own dreams and kind of just, it just kind of made itself and put it together.
Nice. How about you, Mike and Sean?
You want to go first?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Originally the Gauls characters were inspired by, it was these weird characters that appeared in the Samuel Beckett novel called Watt. And they appeared once, and it was just this, it was a strange, and in that book, there was a father and son piano tuners, and the father was blind, and the son had to guide him around. And then it kind of got, ended up kind of evolving into the two brothers that we created, and then ended up making them far more sinister than even from there.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
we've always had an obsession with things that are just beyond the understanding of human perception, and we got obsessed with the idea of just accidentally discovering a tunnel inside your own place that seems to be alive, that just seems to go on forever. And that kind of just sort of combined itself with what he was just describing, and that's kind of how the story came about from that.
It's definitely like, and then H.P. Lovecraft, like I've been into H.P. Lovecraft back since high school, and I remember getting like, and then actually he got me one, like then he got me, I think around then, like for Christmas.
I got you the full set of H.P. Lovecraft.
And then like stories of his, like Rats in the Walls, were always just like so exciting, like just because like that used to be one of my favorites, where the main character would be waking up and you'd be hearing staring around and behind the walls, and it's the feeling that there's like a whole world behind the walls in your house. There's something about that, and
Yeah.
so that was definitely like an influence too.
Yeah.
There's definitely something happening in the world where this has become a common theme in some of the films we're seeing, and everyone does it in their own way. But this idea of like extraliminal space, or like a hidden chamber, and I think a lot of people as kids were fascinated with the idea of like secret passages linking rooms in a mansion and things like that. So that's a fun twist.
Always. I'm still obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's interesting how that also serves as a metaphor for like the human psyche as well.
Yeah, kind of
Whether we're
almost just,
thinking about it or not.
yeah, like kind of like, and then like for us it was kind of like the idea that I don't know, like that when you move into a place, it's like it almost becomes a part of you, but then like when things go wrong in your life in that place, then the place almost feels like it's kind of like almost poisonous on you. And that was kind of like what we were going
That was
for.
that was kind of the main idea. It's just this whole idea that you're, like you said, you're basically a part of the place that you live in, and it kind of takes on a life of its own. And it's almost like a piece of yourself is literally part of this place that you live in. So we kind of took that on a slightly more literal level, obviously, but at the same time, we wanted to keep it just ambiguous enough that we like to leave things open-ended. Let's put it that way.
All right. Let the audience draw their conclusions.
Yeah.
And how about you, Eric? Cosmic horror influences in your work?
Yeah, totally. I think the initial inspiration for the short, it's kind of just been in my head always, because I really did find a lobster figurine when I was a little kid. And unfortunately, there were actual tragic events that happened afterward. And I just kind of always wondered if the two things could be connected. So I guess it was just like the wondering. And then I kind of like backed into Lovecraft, I think, because I've just been inspired by all the people who have been inspired by Lovecraft. And I think just in the process of making it with my collaborators, everyone brought up Lovecraft, and it was definitely a reference point. But I think we were just interested in human behavior and how this thing that's sort of inanimate can maybe affect, the way we interact, and why do we do the things we do. I think that was sort of the question of like, is it impacting this exact moment? Is this a cause and effect? And I think that sense of wondering was my experience. I wanted that to come across. So that was just the initial thread that I think we played with.
Nice. Well, it was really effective in not giving you like too much of an answer about like, is this actually connected, or is this just happening?
Totally.
I mean,
yeah.
This year especially, it's relatable because you're kind of like, is this the apocalypse? Like, the West Coast is on fire.
No one will tell you. I feel like I sort of felt like if this was really happening, what would really happen? I feel like no one would ever come around to sort of realizing it, and I didn't want to sort of break that seal, so to speak. I wanted to sort of keep it realistic, for me at least, even if it broke some rule about storytelling, about creating some closure, but we just tried to hint at all of those sort of cosmic elements. I think our sound designer, Jackie Zhao, did a really great job. She just like created these whole worlds that inferred things, but never sort of directly connected them. And I think for a film, we realized we had to make more direct connections. It couldn't just be so ambiguous. And it's fun to sort of suggest this is happening, but I never want to be the person sort of coming out and being like, yes, this is the answer, or like dictating what the story is, because I think that interpretive element is really powerful.
Interesting. And it's interesting to me that it seemed like the little boy that finds Herman is kind of maybe making those connections in his brain, whereas the adults like clearly have no idea about what's happening.
I feel like they definitely have this relationship that's unspoken, and it's sort of, I think the things that people have told me is they like how it feels like he's almost like a puppet of this puppet. And so I think it's definitely like a horror trope, but just the way Yates, our young actor, executed it, I think he just like totally made you believe it was happening. And he totally like everyone on set fell in love with him, but everyone who watched the film was totally creeped out by him. So I think that's like a testament to him mainly.
Nice. Well, excellent. Verti, your film is chilling in a number of ways. First of all, being that beautifully shot, stark black and white in a wintry landscape, and the subject matter itself certainly lends itself to cosmic horror. Are you a Lovecraft fan, and how much of that influence of cosmic horror has made it into your work?
Yeah, I'm very much a Lovecraft fan. This film came about because I was brought up a lot by my grandparents who lived in the middle of the forest, who told me these terrible folklore stories when I was little. And there's a lot of Lovecraftian aspects, I think, in Finnish folklore, and so I wanted to explore that, and I wanted to make a film where I try to combine these two things and come up with something unique, because a lot of the Finnish legends and old horror stories have this quite ambiguous element to them. That's, you're dealing with something that's much greater than you are, and you don't really know how it thinks and how you should respond to it. And yeah, I wanted to somehow capture that feeling.
And is your story based on folklore, or is it completely fabricated?
Yeah, it's based on the stories that were told during the Great Famine in 1866, because it's interesting that how many of these stories at that time were about some ambiguous being coming and taking your child away, and and then you could see the child in the forest, and he would live there and have a second life there. And it's obvious how those stories came about, because there was so many children dying at those times. So that's, I think, people at the time tried to come up with ways that they can take comfort in the fact that they are losing all these children because they are starving to death.
And yeah, that's a lot to chew on. It was interesting to me that there's the students, and they're just kind of exploring all the possibilities, and they, there was never at any point really where they were like, this is like, what are you talking about? No, this is crazy. Like, that can't be. Like, they're like the over rational side doesn't really take over. Like, they allow themselves to be open to this idea. And interesting how the sheriff is like just completely pragmatic about it, but then he ends up being the one who, I guess, has made all of this happen, or asked for it to happen.
Yeah, he just wants to feed his family, but at the price that he thinks he has to pay is to give up the child. So like, it's morally quite gray, you know. Like, I'm not sure if I'm actually on the sheriff's side at the end, you know.
Mhm. It's very nice, very nice. Thank you. Gav, Chucky Steele, you have like the
Hey.
best name.
Thanks. Yeah, with well, as you can tell with like ours, because it's called Beyond, you can tell like the influence of From Beyond. When it comes down to it, really, it was Tom who wrote it. He's a massive Lovecraft fan, and we worked on And Nothing Hurt, which you would have seen before a couple of years ago. It played, and we were going to try and do a trilogy of Lovecraft films. And this second one, he came to me with the idea of it and trying to mix in The King in Yellow as well. And I quite like the idea of that, and I like the idea of having this just working with dreams, and the fact that with dreams you can do anything. Now, we could have gone like really far with dreams. You can do anything you want with dreams, but I actually wanted to kind of contain it with like the tightness of the interiors of the meetings with the Doctor, then like vastness of the landscape of the fields and stuff like that for the dreams, and then just slowly introducing this attractive woman, and she's slowly introducing like the Yellow King towards the end, bringing him out into the real world and stuff. So yeah, Lovecraft has a massive like influence on that, really. And but just dreams in general, it's just so much fun to be able to play with that sort of thing. But we tried to do it real subtly, like I say. We could have gone like really far with it, but yeah, that was it.
Okay. It does seem like in Nothing Hurt, there is this sort of melting of that line between reality and something else.
The
Is
other
that
world.
a common thread through your work as well, or Tom's work as well?
Yeah, well, it's actually these two shorts, the first things that Tom and I like got together and started working with, and we both seemed like both our styles just seemed to work together well. And then definitely, I love working in that realm of there's a very much a thin line between the weird out there and just the normality. And yeah, we've had Nothing Hurt, definitely. That's really nice to have like this World War II soldier lost in the woods and finds a witch. You know, that was just so much fun to play with. So yeah, definitely. I think it's something that Tom works with and I work with, and it just kind of gels together. So yeah.
Nice. And do you always work in the horror genre? Like, is there always a horror element to your work?
Yeah, I've done a slasher feature. I've done a found footage feature, which is horror, and just been doing like a found footage web series again, which is horror. But yeah, I always work in horror. I love horror.
How about everyone else? Do you all usually work in horror? Yeah, just raise your hand. Do you always work in horror?
It always seems to go that way for us. We don't initially mean to start that way, but everything we do ends up leading towards something horrific.
We'll try to start a comedy, and then everyone will tell us in the end, "Oh, that's a horror film."
It's like, oh, we thought it was funny, but everyone else thinks it's horrifying. I don't know. That's the way it always ends up.
So Eric, you don't.
Not always for me. It's just sometimes my mind always goes to like someplace sort of magical, or I'm usually trying to like live in some other world, even if it's not totally fantastical. So that's the only real requirement. People don't have to die. It doesn't have to be that.
Okay. That's very fun. So we've had a few comments in here. Unfortunately, Ryan Graff, who did Black Moon, is on set today and couldn't join us. But Pete R., I will convey to him that you liked Black Moon. Let's see. Someone said, I'm assuming this is in reference to the Gauls, but they said, I have a feeling those brothers are up to something nefarious. And it's fun because you do feel that, but then it's kind of like they're actually there to fix things in a way.
You don't really know what their real underlying motivations are. Even we wonder that ourselves to a degree.
Yeah, but there is something about there's a power like on the way they can access people's houses, and it seems to be in this way of accessing like a weird literal heart that's in some kind of, I don't know, maybe in some alternate.
some higher dimensional plane of some kind. And it's
Yeah.
like they've somehow managed to figure out how to access it and they have knowledge to it. But it's like their motivations are almost not even human. That's why it's kind of Lovecraftian in that sense, is because it's kind of beyond our own understanding of what they're really trying to do.
They're kind of a little bit like vampires too in that way.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. In a very
Nefarious is a good term. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Excellent. Yeah, there is an interesting attitude with them. You do get a sense where they're not quite living in the same world that everybody else is living in. Like they're physically here, but their motivations and goals are like completely something else.
Very ambiguous. Yeah, we've even speculated about how old they actually are too. Like, how long have they been doing this? Is this something they do regularly? Is it something, some kind of life elongation thing they do? I mean, we don't know. You know, they're maybe they're not even human for all we know. Who knows? Yeah.
And let's see. Another comment said, Beyond had a cool mix of Lovecraft and the King in Yellow myths, and the music really added to the feverish dreamlike effects brought about the yellow tincture. And I think you answered the question about mixing the King in Yellow from Beyond, but that brings up an interesting point about the music and soundtrack. Do you find that when you're, and this is for all of you, I'll go around and ask each of you, do you find that when you're making a film, especially in the horror genre, that you pay a lot of attention to your sound design and what your soundtrack's going to be later on?
Yeah, for me, I'm the composer actually. So quite often with Beyond, I actually wrote the music before I made the film. I quite like doing that because I take the script and I envision it in my head musically without having to worry about budgets or actors or visuals. Write that music, then I can kind of cut to that in a way. It's a bit of a weird way of working because really, you kind of score to the films and the editing, but I kind of like doing it this way because I had already had like a thing in my head for it. So yeah, music's like so important for the film. And with Beyond, it was like going to a dream world. I had to make it this massive epic thing, but not going too much. I wanted it synth, not really orchestral. So but yeah, it works really well. So I'm really happy that comes across.
Yeah, and then for our film, we had for me, a personally unique experience is just making an entirely original score with our composer, Max, and he worked with another friend, and that was a real pleasure. And the co-writer, Paul, he also helped so much with sound design and just going deep into the archives and vaults of different strange noises and sounds and mixing them together. It was fun. It was very fun.
How about you, Verti?
Well, like I had a composer and he did some stuff and I didn't really enjoy it. So I made my own music, which was a interesting process. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty okay. Like the process with the sound with this film was quite a long one because we actually lost like 4 days worth of like field recording. So we had to like do in ADR like 50% of the dialogue.
Oh wow!
And so our only sound guy who like worked on this film for like 6 months receives I think he needs to get credit, for all his hard work because he really put in the effort for the final film.
So when you say so field recording, like when you were shooting the film and you lost
when
all
we were
that
shooting,
audio.
it just went missing somewhere,
Oh no! Jeez.
Stuff like this happens when it's cold and dark and days are long,
Mm-hmm. And you were actually were you filming in the winter?
Yeah, we were filming in the winter. Yeah, like it was like minus 20 degrees Celsius. I have no idea what's that in Fahrenheit, but it's extremely cold. And yeah, like and I'm quite proud of the locations we found, because one of the, like, these old houses, we tried to knock on the door, and we found out the door was open, and then we were like, can we film in here? Okay, let's just do it quick. So we just went in, and it was perfect. It looked perfect. Like, we didn't have to do any set design or anything. We just went in and shot the film and went out, and we haven't heard from the owner of the house. So that went great.
That's good. Well, you didn't burn it down or anything, so that's probably a good sign.
No.
Cool, excellent. How about you, Eric? With
Yeah.
sound and
I spoke
design,
to
lending
Jackie Zhao's
itself
work
to horror.
as the sound designer. My composer, Zach Robinson, I definitely had music temped in for, this whole vibe we were creating. He's an incredible composer, and he came up with ideas we didn't think of that were like that sound when Evan first finds Herman. This sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't have the vocabulary for it. He does, but just some of the sounds he created were really unique. And I think that like speaks to the collaboration we have. I'm friends with most of the people who worked on the film, and they just felt totally free to do their thing. So it was definitely something where I had ideas, but it's always way better when you let your friends do their magic, because they're definitely better at their thing than I am. So
How about you, Jason, with your sound and lending itself to horror?
Yeah.
How much of that is in your mind when you're making your film or when you're writing your film?
Yeah, for sure. For Back 40, I only had roughly 3 days to make it, film it, and put it together. It was for Roger Corman's Quarantine Film Festival, and so I knew that I wanted to make it look just ratty and old as gritty as possible, and it was supposed to be with your family, because I mean, basically, it was the parameters where you needed to use your cell phone and your family at home, and that's all you get. And you get 2 weeks to make it, but I only had roughly 3 days. And so when it came to the sound, mostly what I wanted was the sound of kind of like the narration sounding really old and aged. And all I really did with that was I had my father-in-law, the kids' grandpa, my kids were the ones in the film, just call me and give me a voicemail. I sent him the script, and he would just, he called me back and left a voicemail, and I just straight put that in there. I didn't have to do anything to it, and it sounded just perfectly gritty. And then off of that, I found different music that was already kind of created that kind of gave me the vibe. Most other projects, especially with horror and stuff, it has to do with my nostalgia of dirty old synth, of John Carpenter's tracks, of all that kind of stuff, and that usually really gets me going for the pacing of things. And I listen to old, like Goblin and other stuff that really just that kind of stuff really motivates me. But for this one specifically, I didn't really have much time to think about it. I just knew I wanted it old and fast. And that was the little trick with the voicemail. But
that's great. How do were your kids like weirded out by like my dad wants me to play with these bones?
No, they loved it. They love that stuff. They're ridiculous.
Are they pretty used to you like making them be part of your films, or?
Yeah, they're actually scarier than I am. They are so scary. Like at night, the things they'll say or do, and they're just nuts. And they want to be a part of everything I do. So then I started just making them a part of it, and they absolutely love it. And they usually take it to the next level on stuff. But yeah.
How about you, Mike and Sean? Like, how much do you have a soundtrack or a sound design in mind when you start?
Sound and music are everything for us, man. We for years now, we did an audio drama called The Meat Blockade, and it was essentially a film without the visuals, and we really got a good sense of the importance of sound and music as use and direction for establishing a mood and pacing and everything in the film. well, who was it? David Lynch, who said that sound is 60% of the film. The other 40% is visual. Yeah, but yeah, between the two of us, though, I did the sound and the music for the film. And I'm very fortunate. I mean, I've done the music for our films for years and years, but I have a lot of very, very talented musician friends locally. So I was, in doing the score, I was able to bring in a very talented violinist and a very talented soprano vocalist as well.
Shout out to Bree and Jess.
Yeah.
Oh, and Binks.
Yeah, that's the name of her violin. Yeah. But we were, yeah, I was very, very fortunate in that regard. Always very, very inspired by, in this film especially, very Lovecraftian sounding sounds that are very postmodern sounding, like a lot of Ligeti, maybe John Cage, Christoph Penderecki, stuff like that. So we actually inserted those as a temp track in the film, and then that was kind of inspiration for what started me in the music. And then for the sound itself, I mean, the tunnel itself is a living character in the film. There's no way that was going to be pulled off unless it was passable sound-wise as a living creature. So, God, I don't even know how many freaking sounds I mashed together to get that. Everything from creaking wood to alligators, growling at bears, and it's something that's such a mishmash of sound that it sounds otherworldly, and that was the whole goal in the first place. So yeah, long story short.
Nice. Well, nice. I'm gonna check the Discord server real quick here, see if there's any other questions popping in, because I see people are chatting and like people are really enjoying all this stuff. So there's a question about Herman and the design of the doll. And I was wondering about that too. Is that, like, I've never seen a doll like that. Is that something you had made?
Yeah, we worked with an artist named Eric Fox, super talented guy, and we sort of knew that he could, this is totally in his wheelhouse. He does way more complicated things. I think he did a film with Troma recently. He did a film with my friend that was this Gremlins reboot short that I think was out there. And so I sort of saw that and I was like, he could definitely do the lobster figurine, absolutely. So I sent him this whole backstory and this bio that stays between us. And we worked remotely. I went once or twice to see him in, I think, Riverside, California. But we just sort of worked over the phone, and he created 3 of these amazing, unique figurines that totally like make the film work. Without them, it wouldn't have worked. But he totally saved us by agreeing to do this and coming through. So huge.
Nice. So did you have kind of a rubric that you gave him? Like, I want the doll to kind of.
Yeah, I had sort of 2 images, and one was probably more like the stone exorcist kind of classic ancient look, and then the other one was probably on the other end of the spectrum, and he did sketches, and then he actually molded from clay and then created a mold from that, from which he sort of formed this whole armature and the actual puppet. He's like, I can make it move. I'm like, we don't need it to move, it just stands there. He's like, you sure? Because I can like, nope, it's way easier than that. We're just gonna need to like put it in sand. And he's like, here's some extra glue in case it comes apart. There's 3 of them. Wow. So yeah, everyone was asking. I think one of the cool things that we did was not showing them to the actors in the film, especially the young actors, because it sort of created this mystique around what Herman would be, because they'd obviously read the script and auditioned, and they're like, what's Herman? Where's Herman? So that day on the beach, he really did. Evan Yates, the actor who played him, really saw it for the first time, and the same with Aria, who played Lacey. So I think there was some of that fun, and they really liked the toy a lot. So that was really like, oh, maybe there's something about this toy that's actually cool. That felt good that they wanted to play with it, at least.
Nice. That's great. Let's see. I think Brian Campbell, who's in the chat, said Back 40 gave me wonderful flashbacks in a good way, really, to being a kid in the 70s. It was another world back then. And I think anyone who grew up in the 70s is in agreement with that. That sensation where, yeah, like when we were kids, you're like, just go outside and play. I don't know what you're doing. You go and play with some bones? Awesome.
Absolutely. It was a lot of it comes from, I know this kind of goes back to reasons why we created what we did. I'm from northern Minnesota, Bemidji, and storytelling is just everything. And it comes to just what, like when it comes to lessons, life lessons, entertainment, and it's all about like that's how we grew up, learning you don't go near the lake because somebody's gonna grab you out of the water and you're gonna drown. So you don't go near the lake. You don't go out after dark. You should be need to be prepared if you're gonna go outside because it gets cold. All these tales that we have were just warnings not to get stolen or taken or die. And so like it just that kind of stuff is just like kind of drilled into us. And so like when it comes to back 40 and stuff, I didn't have because I was in the process of making a film and then COVID happened. And so I still needed some sort of outlet. I require that nourishment of doing something creative. And so this was a good opportunity to put something together. And so I didn't have much time to think about it, but it just kind of just happened. And little kids playing with bones worked out.
Always creepy. There's a question for Verti. How does the weather and lack of light affect your planning for filmmaking? Is it something you just get used to, or do you have to have elaborate strategies for dealing with that?
Well, it makes things very easy because we don't have to worry about, we don't have to worry about the night scenes like running out, because when it's dark, it's extremely dark and it will stay like that for like 12 hours. So I actually prefer shooting into winter when you know that it's like stable and you can plan around that. Like we shot all our day exteriors in one day, which was pretty intense because that was like 3 scenes in 4 hours or something like that. And so that was quite a challenge. I don't know why we did it that way. I think we could have stretched it out for 2 days, but we decided to do it in one. So yeah, it affects your scheduling a lot, but I think it also allows a lot of like creative stuff that you can do with the real extreme darkness, and because like even little sources of light will you can see them from really far away. So yeah, it's cool. I definitely prefer shooting in the winter here to shooting in the summer when the sun does not set at all, which creates its own problems. So yeah, I'm a winter person.
Well, excellent. Let's see. It doesn't look like there's too much active in the chat. I think you guys probably talked a lot about what people had questions about in the first place. But I have a question for everyone. Like, so since COVID, were any of you working on things during the right before the pandemic? And then are any of you in like planning future projects for when we come out of all this and can be on film sets again? How about you, Spencer?
Yeah, we're excited because we felt like this short film actually got more attention, and we're really happy to be a part of Lovecraft Film Festival. But because of COVID and probably the coming election and all the uncertainty, that it gave us encouragement to like maybe keep working with this film and expanding the mythos and making more of a series of maybe Fetty and these mystical, supernatural, unknown beings out there.
Nice. How about you, Mike and Sean?
Yeah.
We've been mostly spending a lot of time doing
Writing.
Yeah, mostly
Yeah.
writing some scripts lately. And then we have like maybe 1 or 2 projects that we definitely are looking into getting produced.
We definitely needed a breather after making that film, at least for a little while. So it kind of worked out that things happen in the chronological order that they did. But yeah, we several feature scripts in the works. I don't know. I mean,
I've been busy, yeah, but like mostly in developing ideas and such and writing. That's like the main thing.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that is one thing the pandemic has done for everyone, is that like people who want to kind of take a break and slow down have had that ability, and people who are just like, okay, I'm just gonna get ready for the next race.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
Too.
Yeah.
That's nice. How about you, Gav? Are you working on anything now?
Yeah,
Were
well,
you interrupted?
sorry, yeah, well, with COVID, like, it gave me a chance to, because I have a partner, Tom, who generally sort of writes, and I sort of bounce back and forward with ideas, but I actually put pen to paper, so to speak, and actually banged out a script for a feature, which we're actually like working on it now enough so that we can start working on a concept trailer and stuff when we can kind of sort of get more into that. But on the side, we did actually like do a little short film with all of us, because it's the same for all of you guys. Like, we just wanted to like still like make stuff. It's really hard to not, when you create stuff, it's very hard to just put brakes on creating stuff because you want to just make stuff. So we kind of got together and did like a little news segment bit. So we're all like news reporters. So we filmed it ourselves and sent it in and did like a little thing. And that was like a very Cthulhu, like world going to shit type sort of thing, you know. And we did that. And but yeah, it was in some ways, it's quite nice to take a step back and assess everything and what's going on, what we're doing, what we're making. And funny enough, we decided, well, let's not make the third Lovecraft like trilogy of short films following the Beyond. We thought, let's actually step in and start trying to feature. So in some ways, it gave us time to reflect what's going on and stuff. So I think it's not a bad idea what happened, or not bad idea. It's not a bad thing in that sense. But yeah, we are still working on stuff now, that new feature. I think that's what we're going to go ahead with. Sorry, that's a bit long-winded.
That's okay. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I was hoping to make a few things before COVID happened, and it's kind of, I've been putting my energies towards writing. But yeah, just to sort of, I guess, echo what's been said, it's been nice to kind of step back. I was kind of planning on doing one project, and now I'm kind of like putting my energies into different projects. So I think just realizing I want to make more escapist content, the likes of which the Lovecraft Film Festival might play. Which I should also say, like, thank you for having Herman at the HP Lovecraft Film Festival. It's a huge honor. So I'm thinking about the future and what could play here next.
That's what we do. That we love hearing that, because part of our continuing mission is to be a place for filmmakers to know that there's an audience for that kind of film, because we have I think we did a Kickstarter to help fund the festival, and we have over 300 people that backed it, and I think we had almost 300 back for a level that had a festival pass in it. And then we've also had tickets on sale through the Hollywood Theater. And like generally when we do the festival, it's a 3-day full-on festival convention. We take over all 3 screens of the Hollywood Theater, which hopefully you guys will get to see someday in person when everything, when we can be in personal contact again. But and it's always full, like, and it's usually sells out. And it tells us like, yeah, okay, there's an audience for this. And we hope that more filmmakers get to kind of stretch their cosmic horror muscles and make some things for us to show. So that's nice to hear.
Thank you.
How about you, Verti? Are you working on anything now? Were you interrupted by the pandemic?
I was quite fortunate in it that we just finished shooting my new film before the big lockdown hit here in Finland. So it was in post-production, and COVID didn't really interfere with that, which was nice. I've been actually writing now like this really light-hearted romantic comedy, because for the past 3 years of my life, I've been working with really heavy subjects. So it has been nice to, get rid of all the awfulness for a change. But now I think I'm maybe slowly getting back into all the horror stuff, and maybe trying to write next something a bit more sinister again. Let's see.
Jason, you mentioned that you had been working on a film.
Yeah, I think for me, it was finding a different way to be creatively fulfilled during this time. I think my pursuit for getting the stories out of my head, filming them, being with my friends who all are in the industry of some way or some shape. And with that gone, just finding a different way to be creatively fulfilled. And one was putting Back 40 together. We were in the middle of a production. We literally had it half done. We had teamed up with an author who gave us permission to use his work. It had so much momentum, and it was so crushing that it wasn't able to go any further with what we were doing. And to be able to put together this piece that we saw today, and then also to be able to, from a distance, kind of be able to, I don't know, like bond and kind of mourn together this area, that this the way the world is now, especially for creatives, but at the same time come up with ideas, whether it's writing, doing a lot of marketing for other friends' films, because I can design from a distance. I can help them with their dreams and stuff like that. So that it's kind of showed me different avenues to be able to be creatively fulfilled. So I'm still looking forward to finishing my film that we were working on, and but also I made a lot more friends, I think, in the process of helping others with their work and stuff. So some of it is kind of sad, but a lot of it is kind of cool and different in other ways. So yeah.
It is interesting that there's a lot of silver linings to this. It's a bad situation all around, and
Right.
obviously no one would have wanted this, but it's nice to know that we can find good things that come out of it, and as we move forward, continue to grow in different ways. So I'm gonna wrap up here real soon, but there was one last question that I want to know the answer to. Someone in the chat mentioned a nod to Breaking Bad in the Gauls, and they're assuming the man in the trunk with the tidy whities. Was that intentional? Was that an intentional nod?
Not at all.
Breaking Bad is an awesome.
But we do love Breaking Bad, though. That's a great show.
I didn't even think of that.
No, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that just happened to be a character that fit into that part of the story, and it just happened to make sense that particularly the non-blind Gaul character kind of has a thing for torturing people, kind of like like one of those sociopaths that loves torturing little animals. That's kind of how he treats people. So it only made sense that he would look like that in his tidy whities in the trunk. I mean.
That was our buddy Cody, and
he
was a really good sport that day. We shot that.
Yeah. Don't worry, all that makeup was not real. I mean, it was fake. It was those were not real bruises.
Okay. Very, very nice. Well, before we say goodbye to everyone, please give me your social media or website where people can find you if they want to follow you and find out more about your work. Go ahead, Spencer.
Spencer J. Holden on Instagram, or I have videos on Vimeo as well. And I come from more of an experimental installation background, so they're not as narrative, but I'm out there.
Jason?
Yeah, you've a little bit on Instagram, not a whole lot, and mostly Facebook. Find me on Facebook, just under Jason Ewert. You'll see different posters that I've made and different random films helping other people on. So, yeah.
Thanks. Mike and Sean.
We have a Facebook page. Just go on Facebook, look up the Gauls, and that's where we put all of our updates on.
Yeah. If you want to look at some of the other stuff that we've done, we have a website for our audio drama, themeatblockade.com.
It's also on Meat Blockade is also on iTunes, and
if you like really bizarre, strange stuff, which it seems like the crowd seems to. Other than that, I mean, we don't really have a single central website for the two of us, at least not yet, anyway.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and I have a website. All of them are Eric Bodge or ericbodge.com. So I update you or anyone who follows on Herman all the time. So feel free to check in there. Yeah.
Cool. Bertie?
Well, I suggest that you somehow write my name down and just Google it, and you will find my YouTube channel and some other social media stuff where I sometimes post things. So yeah, that's how you will find me. Yeah.
Okay, and you can also find Verti's name and spelling. It's on our film page on the website.
Yeah.
It's hplff.com, and you go to the films and look up Sehalax 66, and you'll see all the info and the credits there. And Gav, where can we find you and Tom?
If you just check out deadboltfilms.com, that's a link that has links to like our short films, our web series. We've got a Lovecraft kind of comic being developed at the moment, actually. That's something which happened in lockdown as well. And that's links to our YouTube channel as well. So just deadboltfilms.com is probably the best place.
Fun. Well, I just want to thank you all again for being here with us and joining us on the Q&A and interacting with our audience. It's what really makes this a festival is you guys, because anyone can just, take a film and show it to people. But the luxury that we have of actually seeing all of you face to face and being able to talk to you and share all this information is really wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for our audience, if you come in through this halfway, it'll be recorded and you'll be able to watch the rest of it later or right now as soon as it gets uploaded again. And hopefully people are starting to watch Nina of the Woods, and we'll be back with a Q&A with those filmmakers later. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Awesome. Thanks.